Welcome back. If you're just joining us, 4G is currently 1 game up over Millenium, and as we look towards Game 2, we have a lot of questions for these lineups. I think Swain ban?
Yep. just write it down now. Yeah, honestly, yes. Swain ban, Vlad ban. Don't let either through. Both AD carries are going to be like, I don't want to deal with that. Get that out of there.
I would like to go back to playing things that are not Lucian and Sivir. We would like Ashe and Caitlyn and Ezreal back in the pool. Maybe even Draven. We'll have to see.
Of the above. Any of the above for the AD carries. Because I think, well, Gap didn't feel useless because he had Sivir and didn't die and was fine. Was just getting the team started. But, I mean, on the other side, for Tabs going up against like a Swain that is going huge, what can you do?
And Jizuki, the man that we absolutely have to point out, 15 KDA, and this is the most disgusting stat you're ever going to hear. 55% team damage is Swain. 55%. One champion did more than half of the team's damage. I mean, he did 4v1, to be fair, but that absolutely insane how well that pick worked out for the team overall, and I think it's clear that even if Swain is not the end-all, be-all for picks, it's not something you can give to Jizuki.
He was on a team with an Elise, a Trundle, a Sivir.
To be fair, Sivir does a lot.
Well, what I'm saying is like 55%, and you've got a damage-based jungler, a dueling top laner that likes to deal a bit of damage that goes like Ravenous Hydra, and a Sivir who in a team fight pops a Q and a W, and suddenly everybody's half health. Kind of disgusting.
Pretty gross. We don't know. We don't have other adjectives anymore. Like Swain has redefined. All we have are gross and disgusting. Because I mean, what else do you say when it's 55%?
What else do you say when it's 611 Swain as well? Which has had the healing reduced. Like the healing
shouldn't be able to survive 4 people. And then we see it. Well, I wonder if we're going to see it again. Caitlyn's still going to be the first ban here as we get into Champ Select. Team Forge, of course, now on the blue side. Millenium taking up the red. See if this adjusts their strategies. First ban from Team Forge remains the same. Millenium really taking their time to think about how much they want to ban Swain.
If I'm Forge, there we go. Okay.
I mean, it's pretty easy. Not gonna lie, we should know that one.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, if I'm Forge and Swain gets through, that's my first pick. I don't care what else is up.
I mean, is there anything that can deal with it reliably?
People, I'm sure there are matchups for it. We saw a lot of Victor into Swain that when you build Morel and Omicron, it's okay, but that's only under 40%, so...
Yeah, pretty 35.
It's not a great matchup for it. Well. Like, I'm not trying to say it's a good matchup, but I'm saying we've seen people deal with it in that sense, just wave clear and never engage it.
Of course, Ashe going to be the follow-up ban as well, so...
Ryze was the last that Forge banned.
They do have first pick, so maybe look to leave that one open this time around, or potentially, if it's forced out on the other side, maybe hope to get a Vladimir first pick.
Will this be the Draven ban coming out from Millenium? Just because they banned it in Game 1, I'm looking at what they haven't banned yet. Okay, it is going to be the Draven. So now we've got the Vlad available. I just have the last game's picks and bans written on this page.
And it's exactly.
I'm just reading
but this is a different game.
I know,
which is what makes it impressive when we say, okay, all right, fair.
Normally in a best of 2, if there's a target ban towards a champion, you can reliably say it's coming up. And also Millenium, you know, they want to see. So if Forge ban Vlad here, they don't have to ban it on Millenium's side. But now Millenium are in a situation where it's like, uh-oh, do we ban Vlad? Do we let the Ezreal through that we banned out last game? Because they haven't really focused too much on... Well, they focused somewhat on AD carries, but I don't think Ezreal's a first pick. And Millenium could fairly easily pick it up for themselves, whereas Vladimir is first pick. Like, you could very happily take that.
And I think you really just have to choose at this point on the side of Millenium. And it looks like they're going to choose to let Vladimir through. They had to choose between the Ryze and the Vladimir. Of course, Azir taken off the table as well.
I have last games here and they didn't ban Azir. The downfall of...
Yeah, almost. Not quite 100% predict, but...
Well, there's...
Yeah, Vladimir once again going to be the first pick. It was the first pick for Millenium last time around. 4G, keeping the tradition alive.
Much like last game, not the Braum from last game, but Millenium banned the Braum. This time they want it for themselves. Masterwork was not really known as a Braum player, and I don't mean that he never played it. It's just like when I think of Masterwork, I'm thinking of Morgana, I'm thinking of Thresh, like those champions were the tip-top of his champion pool.
Yeah, those champions who can make picks and kind of start fights. And while Braum does have the potential to set up fights like that, he doesn't nearly have the same number of tools. It's not a binding or a hook flash, ult, you know, like your options for engage are relatively limited, but Forge responding pretty quickly on the opposite side. They are going to be able to pick up that Kindred, a jungler that went completely unpicked or banned in our last game, as well as opting for the Lucian this time for Gap.
Well, we know what Forge are going to round the composition out with now. They've got damage, team fight. Where's their tanks and engaged? That's like the last two picks, whatever they pick, are going to be like engaged.
Is it Alistair for
I mean, it might be. It may be. Brom's not available for him, so he may pick that one up. For Millenium, looking at it, that Trundle, of course, can flex. Is that Ezreal locked in yet? Not yet, but sorry, the lights sometimes make it difficult to tell. Okay, Ezreal is it.
Yeah, so Ezreal as well as the Gragas. Most likely Gragas going into the jungle here. Can't imagine giving up the Trundle top lane. Oh, of course they have a Braum, so I don't even know why I'm talking about this. Of course I saw the Braum in the end. Correct myself here. But Zyra left on the table. You can see Hiva flash over it, but it's not a Hiva champion. No. Maybe wants to mix it up a little bit, but we're going to have to see in the end. So relatively strong composition, but Millenium saving that last pick for mid here. Despite knowing what the enemy mid laner is, or really just wanting to make sure that Vladimir's not going top?
Yeah, I mean, we're fairly unlikely to see Vlad top these days. It's just the long lane is a little bit more difficult for him to take control over. It still has some of those weaknesses that he did previously because you have to trade your health, so you're very susceptible to being ganked. Nami is the least Hiva champion I think possible. Either that or Janna.
I feel like he's just trying to trick us. Everyone knows that Hiva wants to play Alistair all the time, so he just flashes through different champions just to I swear guys, I've got a whole pool. I'll show you the pool. I'm never going to pick them. I'm just going to pick Alistair.
Yeah, look at which champions I bought on the tournament roll.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's locked in. Okay.
Okay.
So we saw and spoke about Pretty Zenivia coming into this game, about how good it was last week. We saw it last year, or last split as well. So we know it's a good pick for Millenium when it comes to being able to control the game. Good base damages early allows them to trade fairly effectively, and now you kind of put Forge in a situation where they have to try and catch on to this Millenium lineup. A lot of disengage focus here. The Gragas, the Braum, the Anivia.
Yeah, additionally, having double walls here, both the Pillar and the Wall of Ice coming in from Anivia, just very reliable way to control AoE in a team fight. And you know, if Hiva goes in and suddenly a wall's put in behind him, very hard for the team to follow up there. And I really like the team composition on the one hand that Forge have put together, but on the other side, I think some great disengage options coming in from the side of Millenium. And if they can just execute and kind of stay back, I think that their team composition may be able to win them the day in the end.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I'm looking at the other downfall of this Anivia though, and it's you put a wall up and a Gnar jumps over and suddenly throws you.
Thanks for the assist, the alley-oop.
We don't see that too often. Normally Anivia holds her wall until that Gnar ult is down, but still there's, a lot of room for error in this one. I don't know why I did this, but
there's room on either side.
That's
we
how
we want to specify that either team has room for error. This is how we make room for error.
It's only game 4.
See, the worst part is you have an excuse. You've been here for 4 games. Okay. I'm just I've been here for one. I'm just gonna let go.
You do you, my friend. That's all we need in this scenario. I can see we do have a slight delay before getting into game, so hopefully we shall be not too long before we get towards the game at least. But I kind of wish the Swain was in this game. I'm gonna be honest. It was frustratingly fun to cast.
I didn't know Swain could do that.
I mean, we knew he could do it, but we didn't know he could do that.
I've never seen Swain do that. I was like, Swain's healing is really good. But, if people group up and focus him, they can... Apparently not without Executioner's Calling. Apparently, if Swain is ahead, you can throw as many bodies as you want at him. But, they gave him mana. And that just killed them. I feel like I honestly think that if 1 or 2 people had been fighting him, maybe he wouldn't have gotten enough mana to sustain.
Just enough people piled on him.
But 4 people pile on him, and it's the point where Rek'Sai's not doing too much damage. He's probably having a net negative damage input with a net positive mana input. Yeah, he's probably giving more mana than he is doing relative damage and health in the end.
It's another champion getting hit by the...
I mean, I'm sure there's absolutely zero math to support that, and I'm completely wrong. But at a certain point, it really does feel like there has to be a better strategy to fighting Swain. And if you don't have executioner's calling, maybe the choice is just don't pile on like that.
Yeah. I mean, you don't need evidence to back up claims. That's something I've found out recently.
As an American, I know very well about that theory of rhetoric. Yes. You just say stuff and people listen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like a whole campaigns based on that when you look at it for a lot of things. But honestly, I'm glad they banned it out. Get it out of there. We go from one bird to another in this scenario as Pretty's busting out his signature pick of the Anivia. So I'm looking forward to that.
I love the parallel you drew there.
Hey man, you gotta look. It's the word. You gotta shift it along, keep it going in that sense, and it's not quite the same because this one doesn't transform into a person.
No, it transforms into
an egg.
Yeah.
So
which is distinctly more logical in the bird sense. Like birds and eggs are actually, like that is a thing that happens in nature.
Yeah. That tends to be a thing, but the bird doesn't go back into the egg.
Also, why is Swain? I feel like Swain turns into a bird and is suddenly no longer has a bad leg. You know what I mean? Like he's just good to go.
Well, I mean,
why not just have the leg be permanently
bird form?
bird
The wings
form?
are holding him up.
That's
slightly.
True.
Like if you think about it, I mean,
reduces the need for the cane.
Yeah.
All right.
Either that, or
figuring it out here.
Either that, or he's like, like a benefits scam kind of thing. Where he's just when people aren't looking, he's walking normally. As soon as he goes out of the house, he's got that cane. Like you never really know.
Darn you, Swain, abusing the system. Could be.
But I guess the wings thing probably makes the most sense out of all of that.
Out of all
else,
that,
everything.
Out of all the random stuff that we just spewed out of our mouths back and forth.
I still think, I don't know, would it maybe have been more apt if like, so I understand Anivia is like an ice bird and a phoenix is like a fire bird.
Yes, she's an ice phoenix.
Well, that's because then you wouldn't need the egg thing, and you'd be like, which came first, the Anivia or the egg? You just know that it reincarnates.
And I feel like there's something with the phoenix because it's like reborn in ash, right? And the fire goes out. Like when ice goes away, it's water. So shouldn't she technically be a water phoenix, and then she turns into ice when she dies, and then it melts and she comes back? I don't know. Some continuity errors here, but it's a different world, different rules. All it takes is one creative line that says, no, we have magic ice.
That's true. That's honestly, that as soon as you introduce the word magic into things,
you just get to do what you want.
Yeah, you can just do it.
That's why Pirate with Gun doesn't beat every other champion in League of Legends, right?
That's true. But to be honest, there are like, what would you call it? What would you? I guess the purifier. So, like, what is Lucian's profession? Is what I was going to say. Because, like, Gangplank's profession is like pirate. Because that's what he'd have in a business card. Would he just have the purifier? That's not exactly
the purifier.
Like, he's got
is he like an exorcist?
I guess so. Maybe. Okay. All right. I'm just saying because like, there's better things than a gun from a pirate. There's like lasers.
That's true. There's a lot of stuff that is hugely destructive in this game, we could assume, if it were be in our world. However, aside from this wonderful tangent, let's focus back in on that game one. Let's take a look at exactly how effective that Swain was and why we're now seeing it banned, because Zuki, an absolute monster here.
There you go. Kane is away. It doesn't really need it anymore. But as this fight continued, I mean, the first time watching this through, we were thinking, like, this is a pretty awful fight to start for Millenium, but then Jizuki running out of mana and the big knockup for Joko actually turns it around. Good taunt as well from Kaze, and from there they actually had the damage down from Pretty, but it goes from good to, oops, we give them 2 kills, realistically, because from here Millenium should have a very easy take on the turret, then the hook kind of baits the team in. Here's that net negative that Rek'Sai's doing that you were talking about.
He's just not losing any mana at all. And it's like the unfortunate nature of this composition is that no one in that exchange actually does any damage when we watch this replay back. Like, Pretty is the only person in that teamfight who does damage. We think about, like, Shen, that's not really a lot at this stage of the game. Yeah, Joko, no damage. Thresh, no damage. And so it's really Vlad versus 3 little healing pools and Swain. Like, doesn't matter what Vladimir, like, maybe if it was Vladimir and Shen or Vladimir and Rek'Sai, you'd have enough knock up and CC to kind of interrupt what the Swain wanted to be doing. But reality is you've got 2 extra bodies that aren't providing anything. Each one of them providing CC, which is great, except no matter how much you CC Swain, the birds just keep ticking.
Yeah.
He just keeps healing up. And
Pretty's just going to have this nightmare tonight. He's going to wake up, cold sweats.
he's going to hear the sound.
Dreaming about, like, a team play, turns around, they're all birds. Like, his team are just ravens now. It just turns around, there's people just assisting the enemy team. That actually is, like, report assisting enemy team at that point.
I don't know if you can safely say that. I feel like it was done with good intentions.
Sure. Intent was good.
And you can see the team comps on your screen.
And you know what this means, Sifa? You know what seeing the team comps on your screen means? It means we're finally getting towards the actual game.
Sorting out the last of the few connection issues as we get geared up here. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, there is a different bird this time around. And if your faith has stayed, you can tweet out hashtag MILWin as Millenium may look to even up the set. But if you think 4G are going to be able to crush this one out and go for the 2-0, tweet out hashtag 4GWin. Although Taiki is going to have to buy items. That's an important step.
Well, at least he remembered. Taiki remembered before he got too far out of the base.
Absolutely.
It's always that awkward moment where you get too far out. And it's like, it's too late.
Runs in, runs back. Not going to miss out on too much, but it is 4G on the blue side, Millenium on the red. Both teams getting geared up, and it looks like as both bottom lanes look ready to trade blows here, we could see standard lanes in the end. Cap takes a nice little shot on the face there. Not going to do too much at this stage of the game.
Looks like we will have the Lucian recalling, though, so looks like a departure, perhaps, from standard lanes initially.
No, wait, or maybe not.
No,
just wants the health.
Yeah, wants to get that back. So I was thinking, did they really want to swap out of this? I mean, Ezreal Braum, you're never going to kill. So for Heaver and Gap, they would have to punish a big mistake from Tabs and Masterwork.
And you got to think for Hiva, too, this lane is going to be not nearly as exciting as he wants it to be. Just going to be reduced to that Triumphant Roar, healing up when he can overall. But we also have to respect the potential for engage here with Taiki on such an aggressive, high-damage jungler. Maybe Hiva does get the opportunity to make some of those plays elsewhere. Mid lane, of course, always something that we have to talk about, especially after such an insane first game as the dual jungles start here.
Well, this one theoretically should be a fairly farm-heavy lane. Anivia versus Vlad. Vlad's going to trade his life fairly early, or at least his health fairly early, in order to... ooh, good stun there by Pretty. Can't punish because he doesn't have his E. Jizuki's going to trade his health in exchange to farm early on, and Pretty is just going to sit back and harass when he can with those Qs, but also, just farm it up.
Yep, relatively calm laning phase thus far. Nothing too crazy happening just yet. Of course, can't really expect too much to come out. We'll have to keep our eyes on each of these lanes, though. While bot lane may seem relatively calm overall, top lane, as we've seen from many Gnar lanes, can be quite explosive if Mimic is willing to play aggressive. And mid lane, of course. I mean, you can't watch last game and not get excited about mid lane. We got to focus in there every chance we get. But in the meantime, things stay relatively calm in the standard lanes.
Calm as the ocean that has spawned in the Dragon Pit.
I like that. I like the nice transition there. Of course, yes, Ocean Drake. Not the most preferred first Drake, I think, for many teams who like to have that Infernal or Mountain, but still a welcome addition overall, especially in a passive lane like this where Alistar probably doesn't trade too much anyway. Would be happy to have that near infinite supply of mana here to just keep healing up his AD carry.
Yep, as you can see the rest of Forge trying to trade away, at least in mid lane. Jizuki putting the hurt down on Pretty. Has him very low for now, but Pretty's allowing that just to push in towards him. Junglers close to each other in the bottom side. Actually, pings from both teams pinged out. So Taiki and Joko know exactly where the other are. So no real action this early on. Still biding our time.
Yep. Interesting, of course, shift in the mid lane dynamic, however, is that Jizuki no longer has to be quite so scared using that pool as long as he's dodging the CC from Anivia, because he just is dominating these trades, and Anivia does not have the sustain necessary to keep up.
Yeah, the thing is for Jizuki, he just has to avoid the Q. That's really all it is, because if he gets hit by it, Pretty will just E him, and the base damage on that is so high that you kind of get punished for trading on that. But Jizuki hasn't had to trade much of his health away at all. He's been fairly happy to harass Pretty down with the Q and try and transfuse as much as possible. Bottom lane, there is a fair amount more trading than we were expecting. Nearly had a couple of the passive procs from Braum happen onto Gap. So I want to watch how Forge actually play the rest of this bottom lane laning phase out.
Of course, Ezreal has back for the tier, though, so if it does end up being passive, it won't count too much against Millenium. Jizuki pulling the wave back into the tower. Will use that Crimson Rush to heal up shortly. Interesting, though, about the bottom lane, I think we have two huge playmakers in the bottom lane in both support positions. So I feel like even in what we would consider a very passive lane, both guys are going to kind of move to get more aggressive here.
Yes, yeah, they definitely are. Hiva and Masterwick both love just leaving their lane at a certain point and just running. Jizuki, you could see what he had on his mind there, actually moving aggressive into the minion wave, the minion line.
Trying to really freeze
it all the way out.
Either avoiding the trade there or trying to freeze under tower. We'll
that was just coincidental at that point with the minions pushing away.
Oh, moving in, Hiva, he wants to make a play. Looking pretty dead at this point in the game. We'll have the flash up, may try to make it out to safety, but I don't think there's too many items left, and first blood gonna drop for the Vladimir in the end.
Didn't even see where Hiva came from in the lane there. Looked like he came up and around the back to avoid the ward that was in the river. So real good pathing from Hiva to surprise that lane there. Flash in, had the ignite on him as well. Easy kill down for Jizuki, and I guess it's starting the way the last game did. Jizuki is looking to be that unkillable vamp tank.
And here's the scariest part, is that not only does he get the first kill, but also the 15 CS lead. Masterwork scrambling back to mid lane now to grab this CS in the end, but simply not going to be able to give any over to Pretty. Pretty no TP in his hands at all either. Needs that ignite to trade with Vladimir. So things going really bad for Millenium here in the early stages of the game. Not too much of a gold advantage yet off the first blood, but things not looking good. Good news, bottom lane, Ezreal continues to apply this pressure. Downside is that Lucian is now safe to farm under tower, and Hiva making moves as always.
Well, it's an old meme, but it checks out. 2 tiers in this game. So we're waiting the game for Millenium. It's going to be a while before they actually want to do anything. Pretty is not going to be happy that his passive was popped so early on and he ended up dying. So we're not really used to seeing Pretty under that much pressure. Joko.
Nope, Smite comes out. Taiki getting level 6 off that one. Good aggressive movement, really taking advantage of the pressure put down in the middle lane. Maybe looking to dive one again. Jizuki dashing in, gets the tower angle. Good flash from Pretty. Will make it to safety. Tries to get a bit of damage back onto Hiva, but the creep wave making sure he's going to be safe.
That looks to have been a far more successful gank initially. Thing is, Hiva doesn't have his flash available after he used it in the last trade, so couldn't Q flash onto Pretty to stop him flashing out. So good setup, but didn't have the execution there for Forge, just wasn't available to them.
Not really an option, but Forge continuing to try to control this river area. Joko and Masterwork have to hover around the mid lane. Can't afford to let Pretty get dived again. Ezreal tries the cheeky steal, not going to happen, but at the end of the day, 4G just continue to control the bottom side. May not quite yet to look to set their sights on this Ocean Drake, however, Gap finally going to be able to push in this wave now that he has hit that level 6.
And man, it's been so quiet top lane. You can see Mimic has opted for the swiftness boots first, rather than any itemization, and a lot of that is just because of the way Minina is going to be able to dominate the 1 versus 1 there against a melee matchup, that it means Kaze realistically can never get on top of Mimic while he's in Minina form. He's got the hop away, he now has the swiftness boots to kind of run away from the slow after the pillar, that kind of thing. So it's basically foregoing early damage because he doesn't need it.
Yeah, and I think working out very well. You can see the Phage going to come up next in his inventory. So working towards that Black Cleaver as well, so just nigh impossible. Only time he's vulnerable is, in theory, that Mega Gnar.
Yeah.
When that Trundle Subjugate just does so much work. But 4G, they're not done making aggressive moves yet. Alistair and Kindred moving into the jungle. A dynamic duo now looking to take this blue away from Anivia.
We'll see if the dynamic duo die in this. There's the engage.
Masterwork punted back though. Ignite goes down. He's taking a lot, but the TP is coming in. Trundle on the way in, looks to get the pillar. Taiki making it to safety. Does have the Lamb's Respite. Flash to safety. Tries to get out. Heba, no level 6 quite yet. 3 stacks, 4 on concussive blows, but that's an excellent Lamb's Respite. However, Kaze, he's just set up for a double kill. Gonna give 1 over to Tabs, 2 over to Tabs in the end. Millenium take control. Jizuki doing what he can, but there's simply too many members. Mimic has the Meganar. It is on the way. Crimson Rush coming. That's a lot of healing. What else does he have? Tides of Blood moves in. Mimic wants to get something stunned. Quadra kill coming in for the Ezreal. He's looking to get a Penta. Will they dive him for it? Moving forward. Tabs wants it. He's been here before, tanking the tower. Throws it over. Isn't going to go for it, but the Quadra in the end. Millenium go massive.
They had to back away. They hadn't got the minions under the tower, so they couldn't get the last kill. Man, Tabs picks up a quadra kill in that fight just on cleanup duty alone, and Millenium, from what looked to be maybe a rough start to this game after Pretty got picked off for first blood, had fired straight back there, getting 4 kills onto this Ezreal. That's going to make him so difficult to deal with.
Absolutely. Coming to that fight with just a sheen and a tear. Should be able to go back. Boom. Instant man immune pickup. Working towards it, and the votes coming in. Hashtag 4G win, 83% to the 17 coming in from Millenium. I have a feeling that vote was checked before that team fight, because Millenium are absolutely in control of this game now.
Yeah, it's like, maybe we poll them again now. You'd see like 80% Millenium. The turncoats. Well, I mean, we're not going to check in on that again. I'm just going to be realistic. But still, the fact of the matter is Millenium have completely turned this game back around. I mean, there was a lead for 4G, for Forge before. What are you giggling about?
I just heard production just whispered in my ear just to confirm. We just checked the polls again. 4G actually have another vote in the time since we've said that. So
that's a very passionate
that is
Forge
faith.
fan.
You said turncoats. Like... They're sticking with them, man. And I mean, despite the advantage, we can see gold still slightly, and I mean, let's just call it even at this stage. The 100 to 200 gold difference, obviously not too big. Ocean Drake should be a decent advantage for these teams, but Millenium still potentially in trouble here. Taiki maybe looking for another dive, but Joko making sure his top laner's safe here.
I see how it is. You got production feeding your lines.
Yep.
We get it.
I never have no original ideas ever come out of this head, man. I'm just a face.
Just a husk. We just upload like Caster Protocol.
That's all I've got. That's all I know. Jizuki, though, continuing to trade incredibly well. Pretty.
Oh, man. Oh.
I mean, the rest of his team may have gotten an advantage, but at the end of the day, he wasn't a part of that fight.
That did surprisingly little damage. Oh,
moves
gets
in.
him that
Crimson
time,
Rush
though.
On the way in. Here comes the Chemo Plague. Pretty, does he have the egg?
Passives up, surely.
Not going to be enough. Suddenly, Joko from the side. He's going to look to throw the cask any second now. He has to look to throw it. Crimson Rush comes in. That's so much healing. Good patience from Joko not to throw it.
Yeah, and you can tell in that scenario that the passive, I believe, is up. Hang on, top lane.
Moves in, tosses him into the wall, knocked up by the wall up, keeps him locked down, throws 1 ice block, maybe looking to throw a second. Taiki moving in for the kill. Are they going to keep the dive going? Tanking the damage from the tower. Does have the Lamb's Respite available. Moving forward. Kaze moves in, knowing that they have to pop it, but no! Oh, great coordination. A split second away from keeping that Trundle alive.
Oh, he died! The minion!
What?
Oh,
One
now
shot.
Gap's in trouble.
Gap, no! Chaos across the map. Millenium pick up 2 kills, a 2-for-1 overall. Pretty finally going to go down. Does Jizuki have the damage to kill this? The action is everywhere. I don't know if he has it. Moving in. Heba's here to back him up. Pretty surely set to go down here. Heba from the back is going to get the kill in the end. Ignite ticking down. Bloodbath across the map.
Oh, Taiki, first of all, with the blunder in the top lane, not recognizing the minion damage that was coming out there. That is pretty embarrassing when you look at it. I mean, the Lamb's Respite, he could have gone down through the jungle, decided to take the path through the tower where the minions were.
I guess afraid of the Gragas potentially. We can't be sure exactly what he had vision on.
I guess. Okay, well, we're going to see now, so we can see what he had vision of. So Gragas had passed a ward in the river bot side. I believe he passed that pink ward previously. So Taiki goes aggressive. And then why does he not path down? Is it that so he ults? Why does he path left here? Is it that the minions were still attacking him? Did Taiki also
double
jump
caster,
out?
double caster.
Oh,
wait. Oh, that's not what you want to see.
That's painful. That is so painful.
Yeah.
Bot lane was straightforward.
Yep.
Gap just
Clean
got 3-man.
dive. No one drops. And of course, Jizuki simply too strong. It's so easy for him to avoid the vast majority of Anivia's damage outside of ultimate. Just duck out on those skill shots. Hiva, he seems everywhere. Truly, the man always in a brush at some point is going to come in and make that kill pickup a possibility for the exchange. Millenium is still coming out with a gold lead in the end. Last game, I think, aggression a lot more tempered. Early towers traded back and forth, but this game is all about the bloodshed.
It's so painful. It's tilting me that Taiki actually left his ult before he got the heal. Why would you leave that? Like, you were away from the turret. Go right and down.
It's a rough life.
Yeah.
We have to be sure that Taiki's since learned from that mistake, though. It's a hard lesson.
That's an embarrassing lesson.
Ezreal denying what he can. They're moving in, though. Kaze getting what tanky stats he can. Moving forward. Lamb's Respite is available. Not even necessary. Excellent collapse coming in from 4G.
Great collapse. And they're going to get the tower from it as well. So Forge are continuing this momentum here. And you can see Jizuki again wants to trade in the mid lane. Pretty.
Getting
you don't
aggressive.
have your passive.
Not at all what you want. Moving forward. Is he going to be able to get it? The last auto follows Pretty to his doom. Hiva trying to temper that aggression as they push forward, but 4G once again in the driver's seat while Tab split pushes on the top side.
And what we're learning here is the Anivia matchup into Vlad, not a good one either. Jizuki takes a lot of damage.
Hiva going in. Kindred on the backside as well. Does have the Lamb's Respite. Not going to need it. Masterwork set to fall. Joko disengaging as best he can. Taiki has to flash to safety, but 4G playing incredibly aggressively. Kaze still running on these front lines.
Running on the front lines, and Kaze is having, I guess, a little better a game than the last game, but he really hasn't been able to get into it. This time on the Trundle, against the Gnar, hasn't been able to hold the solo lanes and cannot have the same impact in team fights that a Gnar does when Gnar ends up in Mega Gnar. So Millenium a little overstaying here in the middle lane to try and push down that turret. It's Infernal Dragon that is spawned. Stops the recall on Gap.
Good to have.
That should be enough to buy Millenium the Dragon.
Will be a great follow-up to their Cloud, or to their Ocean Dragon earlier in the game. Happy to have that one moving forward. A lot of members on the team taking advantage of that scaling AD and AP, especially with Trundle opting for the Tiamat on the top side. See Taiki continuing to clear out these wards. End of the day, however, still a relatively even game overall. 4G taking control of the top side, however, could get them a greater advantage in the end. Millenium still have all their vision around the Dragon Pit. They're moving forward. Rift Herald, can't imagine it's going to be a focus from either side here.
I just want to see Tabs hit something. Also, so Tabs went Sheen, and that has a Stinger.
Yeah, I forgot about the new Trinity Force build for about 30 seconds there, and I was trying to figure it out while you were talking.
So. Here's the thing. You can't have both. You can't have Infinity Edge and Iceborne Gauntlet and have everything that comes from them. One of them gets sacrificed. So you get the slow from the Iceborne Gauntlet. You do not get double Sheen damage if you build both. Now, I have a feeling he's probably going to sell the Sheen if he wants to go Triforce here.
Sheen builds into Triforce, though.
Oh, yeah. You're completely right. It's the
Got a little lost.
Zeal. Oh
Got
my
a little
God.
lost for a second.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. The build path is not Zeal, Stinger, Phage. That would be a sweet item build path, though, by the way. That would be...
You are completely right. So you got lost and thought about it while I was talking. I didn't think about it and just started talking.
So it's just going to go for that Triforce instead of the Iceborne Gauntlet.
Okay, so this is the bad reason for why that happened.
Yes.
They're both blue, and I was like, the blue item replaces the blue item.
Hiva, the blue cow replaces the blue bird. They're going to go deeper for the fight here. Pretty getting burned down so quickly. Gap completely untouched. Taiki with 4 members. Great Gnarls! Are you kidding me? 3 members burned through. Taiki finally drops. Millenium moving back. They have to run for their lives. Gnar flash forward on the top side of the pit. The pickup for Lucian. The triple kill traded back. Tabs gets a quadra. Gap happy to pick up 3. Later stage of the game. My God, great fight from 4G.
Much better fight from Forge. This time Mimic comes in, throws 3 people into a wall, and that's what we were talking about, is this extra team fight potential from the top lane, as Mimic was able to really take control there. Tabs wants to try and hold this top lane here, but I don't know whether Kaze and Tabs can really do this. All the Gap hasn't really had an opportunity to back yet after that fight, so they're trying to stick around. Oh, it's Jizuki from the backside though. No ult, no real way of getting into the lane.
No. But they have to respect the potential there for the dive coming in from the Vladimir. 4G grabbing another tower. 4-2 now. The tower score, building a pretty decent gold advantage. We'll get one more look at this team fight.
So this fight started when we were too busy learning colors at this point. So Taiki was getting pushed around in the middle of this fight and ultimately ends up getting his Lamb's Respite available. And look, Pretty so far up on the side and picked off so easily that Mimic is able to deal with most of the rest of the team from Millenium pretty much single-handedly. He's able to just control that fight and lock it down and make sure that they can win there. And I finally learned my colors, don't you worry.
I mean, moving in, you don't have to anymore, see? It's yellow now.
It's yellow. How does it become yellow? Blue and blue plus red doesn't make, or like brown doesn't make yellow.
That builds out of red and silver. It's not, the items aren't like color-coded though. We have to like, I feel like we're misleading people.
You are correct. I am being silly. That's what is happening.
Ah, yes. Solid. Sorry, I hate the word silly.
It's okay.
I just like my brain shuts down when I hear the word silly.
It's all right. My brain's been shut down for like the last 5 minutes. Apparently, I completely brain farted on that.
It's a struggle here. This Millenium now struggling to get back in control of this game. Hiba doesn't look like he's going to give them the chance. Great pillar, flash forward, knocks up Kaze. Wall to try to disengage here. Vladimir dishing out a lot of damage, but a good cask will save the day in the end. Kindred coming on the side. Hiba going to take the hit there. Unbreakable Will blocking out the damage, but excellent disengage from Millenium, going to stop that fight from going any further.
Kill the fight before it even begins. Baron is up as we've crested 20 minutes, and now the Cloud Drake is the next one to spawn in 1 minute 30, so I don't really think Millenium are going to be all that fussed about that. They are still behind, so they want to try and get anything that they can. Mid tower is a good start for them, and they may even continue to push for this. Just from the sense that they have the positioning, but they've got to be careful because Jizuki's coming around from the backside.
We've seen this. Hits the ult on 4. Going to pull his way out to safety, back into his team. Oh my god, that healing was massive. Jizuki back up to full in an instant from the 4-man ultimate. But Millenium just continued to disengage here, steadily trying to edge out these advantages.
Uh-oh, look at the stealth cow though, looking perhaps for the flank.
Oh god.
Right around the backside.
The pings,
they
know. Run, Hiba, run! He's going to make it out to safety, of course. Still waiting potentially for that flank. He hasn't left the jungle quite yet, but Lucian, Vladimir, and Kindred going to have to take a step back. Tabs making sure they're not going to get flanked.
You can see Mimic went to the top side to build that Nahbar up, just in case that did start the fight. Didn't want to be basically running on empty and have to start from 0. Takes so long to build that up if you come in with nothing to build off. If you can come in on 70, tends to be just about enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Nardo starting the split push up. Pretty now left to defend the mid lane. Hiba goes in again. My god, Pretty dropped in an instant. And Gap unstoppable now in the exchange. Jizuki not afraid whatsoever, going for the dive. The healing has been reduced, however, as he flashes back into the Lamb's Respite. They're going to try to edge out the advantage in this fight. They don't have the health lead. Can they do it? Hiba will unbreakable. Locked down in the end by the concussive blows. Kaze runs forward. He'll grab the kill on Hiba, but he trades for it with his life. Mimic, he wants the kill. Smack down onto Masterwork. Flash out of the wallop. He'll make it out to safety. Millenium picking up kills back. They've regained control of the fight. Jizuki only hitting no one with the ultimate as they move forward. Mimic has to flash out. Gap has no mana, but he's slowed down. No hope to escape this one in the end. Masterwork moves forward. Finally enough for the dash. Hop, skip, and a jump over his teammate's head. The body block. They're racing to safety. Someone has to take the blow here. But they're both going to make it out. Millenium take control, picking up 2 kills.
And you can see Tab's good cleanup duty at the end of it, but the fact that he's gone Trinity Force instead of Iceborne Gauntlet, if you'd hit with an Iceborne proc there, that was a pretty much 100% kill there onto Gap. Millenium, however, content with the fight. They got Jizuki still respawning. They're going to try this Baron attempt. Looking at it, Kindred's only just coming out of base.
Here comes Hiba. What's he going to do? He doesn't have any defensive ultimate. He's just trying to buy time for his team, but he's going to burn down. Tab's now godlike. 2K left. Walls to block them out. Finally getting the use. Securing the Baron safely. No member of Millenium going to drop either. That is a great take for the team.
Yeah, a really good take after this fight. And I want to take a look at this because Jizuki and Hiva going real deep into this fight. Gap also, you know, pushing forward, trying to get much more. But Jizuki in this scenario, it tanks up the turret for one hit or two, ends up flashing away. Doesn't stick around for the extra heal inside the Kindred ultimate and tries to back away. From there, goes aggressive once again after he has no flash because he feels like he picks up enough from Kaze as the rest of his team are going forward. Mimic kind of ends up baiting the rest of them in. And from here, there's the Proto Belt forward, and he thought he could get more.
Misses the ult.
Yeah.
Wanted the healing. May not have gotten time to get it in the end, and Gap has to get out to safety as well. So just a little bit of an overstep there. Coming in on the side of Forge, and Millenium more than happy to punish that one out. Taiki potentially in trouble as well. Ezreal glancing him overall. They're going to grab this red buff. And really, Millenium starting to take control. Gold finally starting to even out. The vision on the bottom side belongs to Millenium as they clear out that last pink ward.
With the vision on the bottom side, they're going to make a very straightforward decision here. To say, hey, let's push bot.
Absolutely.
No real reason to do too much else for Millenium. There is a wave pushing into them topside, but no teleport on Kaze. And again, Pretty doesn't have TP in this game either. Or wall on Taiki.
Oh, great zone control coming in from the Anivia. The Baron buff making sure that this tower is slowly going to drop. Ezreal throwing out so much poke. Masterwork blocking any potential wave clear. Easy pickup on that tier 2 for Millenium.
Just hop over the wall at that point. It was just good zoning, though. Millenium are able to just push people back away. And this is what they've done so well, utilizing this Anivia pick. We actually saw Splice do something fairly similar in this past week's LCS. Problem is, the Anivia pick in this game hasn't really worked so well for Pretty. 5 deaths on an Anivia is pretty much almost unheard of, considering the passive.
Yep.
That means, like, you've at least drained Pretty's health bar like 8 times in this game, at a minimum.
Yeah, not all where you want to be. Joko goes in, though. Quick ultimate. Just going to secure the tower take in the end. Coling comes out. Gap, though, just going to take a Mystic shot to the face there. 4G. Slowly, the gold starting to run away from them as Millenium pick up their 5th tower of the game. We said we wouldn't check in again.
I said we wouldn't. I see you're conspiring.
No, I said we. I wanted to defend you on that one because I didn't think we'd see again. But Millenium, slowly their fan base grows. The more and more they punish 4G. 73-27.
I mean, it's looking good for Millenium if you look at Tab's scoreline. Like 7-0-3 on Ezreal, getting later and later on.
If we don't look at mid lane.
Yeah, if you don't look at the Anivia with 5 deaths, everything seems good.
But I mean, Taiki's similarly struggling in these fights. 1-4-4, not quite where you want to be. And Hiva, he's got 4 deaths, but I think for Hiva that's no surprise. This is the cost of being so aggressive.
Right, and you mean that in an ironically positive way.
Yes.
Because it's his aggression that puts him on the front line. Speaking of aggression, Millenium now want to push down this tower. Mimic, however, is nearly in his ultimate form. Nearly has Mega now, so Millenium do have to be somewhat careful here.
Moving in. Trying to play safe here. Baron buff poised to fall off the team here. Mimic throwing out what he can. End of the day, though, the map still very much in Millenium's favor after their Baron-empowered push. 6 towers to 4. No inhibitor to show for it, however. Oh my gosh, not at all what you want. Tabs caught out. He is set to fall here. He is going to drop down. Almost gets a kill back onto Hiva, but Hiva doesn't even need to use the Unbreakable Will. Good catch.
Yeah, good catch, and that's going to allow Forge to push up this middle lane. No real other objectives available for them right now, and you can see they're going to turn around, push up, and try and get some damage done. They have got damage on that tower from earlier, I believe. Only a little bit, but every little helps at this point. But the Anivia ultimate clearing things out makes it so difficult.
Yeah, moving in. I mean, it's just so much wave clear on this side, and they have all the disengage options as well, so short of Hiva getting another miracle flank, I just don't see any way 4G are going to be able to siege this one down, but he doesn't even need it. He wants to go right through the front door, flash in, wants to make it happen. Lamb's respite drops, so no one is going to fall here in the end. Absolute chaos here. A trade of blows back and forth, but Jizuki doesn't go down. Gap, no! Jumps in, Tabs there to pick up the kill. Suddenly, everything is going wrong. Jizuki wants to kill back, gets a ton of healing, but he just doesn't have the damage. Tabs, the hero the team needed as he turns this one around.
Has the Executioner's calling, so is way, equipped to deal with Jizuki in that situation. No way of Vlad to heal that back up, and Millenium in a defensive position managed to hold on to that fight much better than Forge thought they could. So he went aggressive onto Pretty, but couldn't get him back into the rest of the team. Actually pushes him to safety, and from there now Forge are fighting on top of the Anivia Storm for like the entire duration of this fight. Jizuki gets blocked from going further into this fight as well, and even though he puts Pretty in the egg form, it's not enough, as Tabs was there with the added damage to be able to push him back and push Forge's onslaught back into their base.
And really overall, an incredibly chaotic team fight, but you're right, the consistent Anivia damage as well as, I mean, the man of the hour, Tabs, coming in to pick up that kill is finally as Gap gets really aggressive there. And I think maybe just not respecting the respawn timers coming in. I mean, I guess it is incredibly difficult to look at those when you're in the middle of a team fight, but you need to be aware of how long that window of opportunity is open. And 4G just consistently overstepping this game. Millenium more than happy to pick up another team fight win. Yeah,
and Millenium, it's only 40 seconds until Baron. Joko wants to go aggressive.
Starting to get started up, moving forward. Ezreal tags Gap. 2 stacks on the mounting Dread, not going to find a third.
Only 20 seconds now until we see Frank.
Making his way back.
No.
No?
No, nothing. You're not going to ask me?
Who's Frank?
The dragon.
Why did we name the dragon Frank?
Because it's an ocean dragon.
God damn it. Oh my god, sorry. I'm not supposed to say that.
I broke him.
How did you do this?
I broke him.
I thought when that came up it would be Drake featuring Frank Ocean, but that's also very good. Well done.
Taiki.
Oh, wants the steal. Is he going to be able to get it? They don't actually have a jungler. Lamb's respite goes down. He can't steal it through it. No, he has to wait for it to come back.
True.
The heal from the Kindred ult saves the dragon in the end.
Oh, you are so correct. I was going to say, like, Taiki had it right at that perfect spot, but because it's going to gain that extra, like, 300 health. Oh, that's sad. That's sad for Taiki.
And Millenium setting up to take their second Baron of the game. Absolute control on this side of the map. No jungler to steal this away. Taiki trades his life for absolutely nothing. And 4G, they started last game so well, utilizing the Swain pick, but this time, even with a great start, simply could not control the game. Tabs 10-1-3 at this point. This Ezreal terrifying to play against.
And realistically, I mean, that's Millenium in a nutshell for this. If Tabs stays alive, they basically win this game because he can deal with everybody.
Oh, Joko potentially in trouble here. Headbutt pulverize in. TP comes in as well. We'll see the fight. 4 stacks on concussive blows. Do they want to get it? Tabs now on a rampage. Kaze running forward. Can he get it? Mimic slowed up. Team coming in to back him up as well. Millenium just going to back off here. Now pushing in for this inhibitor tower. They're set to take it, and there's simply nothing 4G can do. Forge, they want to get something back that they're not going to have the opportunity. Inhibitor now falling in favor of Millenium.
And honestly, that really is the beginning of the end here. Joko maybe going
Flash in, Masterwork going to miss the ult. Nothing else coming for it. Subjugate used as well.
Coming up.
We've seen this happen before. Millenium not going to make the same mistakes as their opponents. They're backing off, taking the small advantages here and walking away. Not going to overstep, but 4G could be hungry for more as they start to push forward as 5.
Forge have nothing to take, though. Realistically, it's maybe the mid tower. Joko, however, is on his own in the enemy jungle, stuck around to kill a ward, forced to use his ultimate back out of that.
Of course, Joko running now to safety. And interesting as we move in, Eva can't really afford to play too much on the front lines anymore. So he takes too much damage, and we'll get one more look at this. What do we call it?
Oh, okay.
We're gonna
see
pan
the. Okay. This is sad for Taiki.
And Dragon.
There's like a moment where he's like, if I can auto and smite it now. Ah, no.
I don't even have anything to say about that. That is just... As
That's
someone who
sad.
frequently enjoyed playing Kindred when she was disgustingly overpowered, I'm not good enough at her to play her when she's a skill-intensive champion. So I would have forgot about that interaction, and I really, really, really feel for Taiki right there.
Yeah. I mean, it was at that sweet spot. He's like looking at his smite. He's like,
Oh, yeah.
my smite right now actually deals 850. It's good. We got this. I'm just going to get, killed, but I'll take a dragon for it. It'll be okay.
Ocean Drake. And I think at that point you're committed, right? Like, never did he want to use the Lamb's Respite there. But at that point you're stuck. You're like, they're going to get Baron, but I'm going to get Dragon, and we'll make this work.
I don't think that's a worthwhile trade.
No, but at that point, it's just overcommission.
Here comes Gap from the top side. Nearly ends up in the fight.
Oh,
Mimic was there too.
That's not what you want, though. About to run out of the Meganar right as Millenium descend upon this tower. They're geared up to take it. Good zone control, forces the pool out early. Tabs throwing poke down, not going to find purchase onto Mimic. Millenium have to wait for this next wave, but the Baron buff will make this relatively easy to take. No real long-range wave clear on the side of 4G. They've now preoccupied dealing with the mid lane, and Millenium are just going to move forward, having Kaze take the tap. Hiva goes in, though. Pretty is going to make it out to safety. Hiva uses the Unbreakable Will, gets knocked up, though. Glacial Divide going to stop him from going in. Jizuki jumps in. He hits multiple members of the team. Can 4G turn this around? They're taking so much damage. Alt comes in. Good sidestep. Tabs not going to be able to find anything on that one, but Kaze absolutely untouched. Just going to jump forward once again. The Trundle passive sustaining him through these exchanges. Going to move in, going to grab their second inhibitor, but no one dies on either side. 4G. Ooh, these team fights are simply so close, but Millenium continually coming out ahead.
And Millenium playing a balancing act at that point. They all got hit pretty much by the Hemo Plague, but just back away, don't allow the damage to follow up. And from there, it's actually a fairly straightforward fight because Millenium don't have to really be too concerned with Jizuki past that point, because all they've got to do is hit him once with that Ezreal, and suddenly he doesn't seem like such a problem anymore. So here was the engage with the Hemo Plague about to hit down on a lot of the Millenium people, but as Millenium back themselves away here, look at all of the procs that are about to go off, but it's just smartly played. Kite it back, reset the fight, and from there, Forge have such low health bars. Taiki's low, Hiva's low, and Mimic's just timing out on the Meganar before he could really utilize his ultimate properly.
And I think that was the biggest issue, right? Hiva goes in, but his teammate is just simply not ready. Hiva has the opportunity, he wants to make the play, but without the Gnar to follow up, the Anivia just flashes out, and suddenly the whole team fight is lost because you've just overcommitted.
Yeah, and honestly, that has been one of the problems, perhaps, when you look at a lot of the challenger teams that like playing more aggressive, is overcommitting to fights and just kind of not really weighing up the options properly. That's always a bit of a problem that Hiva has had, but generally it's been favorable for Forge.
Moving in, though, potentially trouble. Taiki, oh my god, no chance to use the ultimate. Hiva wants to get something back. I don't know if this is a fight they can afford to take, though. Meanwhile, Kaze and Gap, they're dueling it out. The Lucian doesn't have the damage. Jizuki, he's simply overstayed his welcome. He'll get the health back, but he's determined to get a kill in exchange. It's not going to happen. Pretty on a killing spree. Mimic, he wants to fight the Trundle. He doesn't have the tools. He may be able to run for his life, but Kaze is going to break this inhibitor. He may even break Mimic in the exchange. Backs off. End of the day, though, Millenium absolutely going to take this game in fashion, because one last overextension from the team, one more catch is all it takes for Millenium to break the base, and it's a 1-1 series overall.
Whew. And what seemed to be a real struggle in the mid lane for Millenium actually turns around to be a great performance from Tabs in that bottom lane.
Overall, yeah, I think very good, and I think just punishing the mistakes. I feel like they adapted to the way that Hiva played Alistar, and I feel like at the end of the day, top lane on the side of Forge they were not coordinated together. Hiva was happy when he was making the plays and the Swain could follow him in, and it was easy, right? Because the simple follow-up was so there and so simple, but when you're playing around this Meganar, you have to be very aware of those timings, and it's just Hiva can't couldn't afford to engage on those terms. He got the opportunities not when the Meganar happened, and it's just those slight missed timings really cost the team so much.
Exactly. And there were just a few points in the game that really swung things either way. That quadra kill is like the big one that sticks out because, you know, for Forge, they were so content on kind of fighting around the blue buff and then looking perhaps towards the dragon that they kind of didn't really estimate the right amount of damage that was coming out, and Tabs just cleans up, even though he only had like a Sheen and a Tear.
Yeah, and it was just cleaning up the fight, absolutely. And he goes back and finally starts to get these damage items well ahead of schedule and just performing well individually in those fights as well. Because by the time he was ahead, it was so easy for him to just throw out damage from the backside. And you saw Gap throwing out the Coaling in the mid lane once, you know, already Tabs was so far ahead, and we watched basically half of the Coaling trade for a single Mystic shot there in terms of raw damage output, and that is a terrifying point to play against.
Yeah.
However, with our second best of 2 now in the books, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere because Nerve and Misfits go head-to-head right after this.